1903, J. Bordi, the Lieutenant Governor of Bengal, arrived at the Konark Sun Temple in Odisha with his team. This was no ordinary visit. On that day, he witnessed something inside the temple that prompted him to issue an immediate order. Fill the temple's garbhagriha, sanctum sanctorum, entirely with sand and stone. Simultaneously, he ordered this 800-year-old marvel to be sealed forever. Nearly 123 years have passed, yet the question remains: what terrifying sight or secret path lay within those walls that necessitated such a total concealment from the world? Today we call Konark a ruin, but once it was a dreaded omen for sailors. Legend has it that any ship passing near the temple would either lose its way or be swallowed by the sea. This led Portuguese sailors to name it the Black Pagoda. But what was it about Konark that could sink even the mightiest vessels? The architectural mystery. Located on the coast of Odisha, the Konark Sun Temple is over 800 years old, a masterpiece of Indian architecture. Built long before the invention of cement or modern cranes, our ancestors utilized a sophisticated iron lock system to erect this unimaginable structure. Even more baffling was the technology that allowed the idol of Lord Surya, crafted from octam metal, ashtadhatu, to float in mid-air without any physical support. Furthermore, what truly happened when a 12-year-old boy allegedly sacrificed his life during its construction? The temple, shaped like a colossal chariot for the sun god, was centuries ahead of its time. Its stone wheels act as precise sundials, telling the exact time even today without a clock. How was this level of precision possible? Was its eventual ruin the result of a child's curse or a conspiracy by invaders? The legend of Samba, a prince's penance. To understand the grandeur of Konark, we must look beyond history to the Dvapara Yuga. The foundation of this temple was laid not by a king's ambition, but by a son's repentance. According to the Samba Purana, Samba, the son of Lord Krishna and Jamvanti, was renowned for his breathtaking beauty. However, his handsomeness fueled an arrogance that led him to disrespect elders and sages. Seeking to teach him a lesson, the sage Narada tricked Samba into entering a lake where his stepmothers were bathing. Enraged by what he perceived as a grave transgression, Lord Krishna cursed his own son with leprosy. In an instant, Samba's golden body became deformed and racked with pain. When Krishna later learned of Narada's trickery, the curse could not be undone. He advised Samba to seek refuge in Surya, the sun god, the healer of all skin ailments. For 12 years, Samba performed rigorous penance at the confluence of the Chandrabhaga River and the ocean. Pleased, the sun god appeared and cured him. In gratitude, Samba built a temple at the spot where he found a miraculous idol of Surya in the river. This place became Konark, Kona meaning corner, and Arka meaning sun, the historical powerhouse, the Ganga dynasty. While mythology provides the spiritual origin, history credits the Eastern Ganga dynasty, the same builders of the Jagannath Temple, with the structure we see today. Ancient recognition. In the 2nd century, the Greek geographer Ptolemy referred to this area as a famous port. Later in the 7th century, the Chinese traveler Huan described magnificent buildings standing here. The king's vision. The current massive structure was commissioned by King Lingula Narasimhadeva I, reigned 1238 to 1264 AD. The Queen's Vow. Inspiration came from the Queen Mother, Kasturi Devi, who challenged her son to build a temple for the sun god, the source of all life, that would rival the splendor of the Jagannath Temple and display the might of the Ganga dynasty. To achieve this, the king spent 12 years of the state's total revenue. The temple also served as a victory monument, celebrating his triumphs over foreign invaders. Even Abul Fazl, the chronicler for Emperor Akbar, recorded in the Ain-i-Akbari, 1580 AD, that he was stunned by the temple's beauty, noting that it was still an active place of worship in the 16th century. 1,200 craftsmen and one ultimate sacrifice. The construction was a monumental feat. King Narasimhadeva I appointed the legendary architect Bishu Maharana as the chief artisan. Under him, 1,200 of the most skilled craftsmen from across the land worked for 12 years. The true power of the temple lay in its hidden engineering, a mystery of magnetism and interlocking stone that continues to baffle modern scientists. However, the story of its completion is stained by the legend of a 12-year-old boy whose sacrifice allegedly saved the temple but left it forever haunted by a dark legacy. In an era long before the invention of cement or modern cranes, an incredible iron lock system was developed to bond the massive stones together. The artisans used thick iron plates and clamps between the giant blocks of sandstone. These plates were fitted into precision-cut grooves so perfectly that they gripped each other with immense strength, a technique we recognize today as modern interlocking. This method didn't just provide stability, it protected the structure from the corrosive salty sea air and the tremors of earthquakes. Bishu Maharana's mathematical calculations were so meticulous that the weight of every single section of the temple was perfectly balanced. The most shocking realization is that these iron layers weren't used just for structural strength. They were designed to create a massive magnetic field. This field became the foundation for keeping the idol of Lord Surya suspended in mid-air. The legend of Dharmapada, a sacrifice for honor. However, before we delve into the levitating idol, we must understand why a 12-year-old boy gave his life for this temple. As construction reached its final stage, a challenge arose that baffled all 1,200 experienced craftsmen. The main structure was complete, but they could not stabilize the kalash, the crowning capstone, on the spire. The design called for a massive 52-ton magnet to be placed at the summit. This magnet was the soul of the temple. Without it, the entire architectural and energetic balance would fail. After countless failed attempts to secure the stone, King Narasimhadeva I lost his patience. He issued a chilling ultimatum to Bishu Maharana. If the kalash was not installed by sunrise the next morning, all 1,200 artisans would be beheaded. A deathly silence fell over the site. Centuries of engineering knowledge had reached a breaking point. At that very moment, Bishu Maharana's 12-year-old son, Dharmapada, arrived. Having never met his father since birth, he had traveled with his mother's permission to see him. Shocked by the atmosphere of despair, he learned of the threat against his father and the workers. Despite his age, Dharmapada possessed extraordinary engineering intuition. He understood exactly how the third magnet needed to be balanced within the temple's magnetic field. With his father's blessing, the young boy climbed the towering spire in the dead of night. In just a few hours, he achieved what the veteran master builders could not do in 12 years. He perfectly set the capstone. The tragic hero. When the first ray of the sun touched the temple's peak the next morning, the king and the craftsmen were stunned by the miracle. But this triumph brought a new fear. The artisans worried that if the king discovered a child had succeeded where they had failed, he would deem them incompetent and punish them anyway. To protect his father's honor and save the lives of the 1,200 craftsmen, Dharmapada made a heart-wrenching decision. Instead of celebrating his success, the brave boy jumped from the summit of the temple into the Chandrabhaga River, sacrificing his life, a legacy of science and wonder. His sacrifice was not in vain. What modern science calls a diamagnetic field was successfully engineered in India over 800 years ago. This field allowed the idol of the sun god to float, seemingly defying gravity. Furthermore, the temple features 7 horses pulling the chariot, which symbolize the 7 colors of light, predating Sir Isaac Newton's theories on the light spectrum. Then there are the wheels of the chariot, which function as sophisticated sundials. To this day, they can tell the time with staggering precision, leaving modern observers in awe. These mysteries of Konark prove that our ancestors possessed a level of technological mastery that the world is only just beginning to understand. Prepare to be amazed as we dive deeper into these mysteries. But before we continue, if you're enjoying this journey, be sure to share it with your friends and family so they too can discover the wonders of India's ancient temples. The Chariot of the Sun, a stone calendar. The Konark Temple isn't just a massive stone structure. It is the physical manifestation of the sun god, as described in the Vedas. King Narasimhadeva I brought Kalinga architecture to its absolute zenith here. The entire temple is designed in the shape of a colossal chariot. At its base, 12 pairs, a total of 24 stone-carved wheels, represent the 12 months of the year. These wheels aren't merely decorative, they are precision timekeeping instruments. Each wheel has 16 spokes, 8 large and 8 small. The alignment of these spokes and the shadows they cast can still tell the exact time of day, broken down into the 8 prahars, 3-hour intervals. The math: there is a 3-hour gap between the 8 major spokes. Time is read counterclockwise. If the top spoke represents 12 o'clock, the smaller spoke preceding it counterclockwise represents 1:30. Precision: between these spokes are even smaller carvings, where each sub-spoke represents a 3-minute interval. By simply placing a finger in the center of the wheel, a person can determine the exact time by looking at the shadow. To pull this divine chariot, 7 powerful horses are carved at the front. These represent the 7 days of the week, and, more remarkably, the 7 colors of light. While modern science credits Isaac Newton with discovering the visible spectrum via a prism in 1666, this 13th century temple proves our ancestors understood these scientific truths over 400 years before Newton was even born. The mystery of the levitating idol. The temple consists of 3 main parts: the Vimana, the sanctum, the Jagamohana, prayer hall, and the Nada Mandira, dance hall. Local legends and ancient texts claim that the Ashtadhatu, 8-metal idol of the sun god, suspended itself in mid-air within the sanctum without any support or stands. This wasn't magic. It was a feat of physics known as magnetic levitation. To achieve this impossible task, 1. A 52-ton massive magnet was placed at the very peak of the temple spire. 2. Artisans layered the floor and walls with heavy iron plates and used iron clamps to bond the stones. 3. The result was a powerful diamagnetic field. Dharmapada, the 12-year-old son of the chief architect, reportedly understood how to balance a third magnet, the idol, within the field created by the other 2. The idol was placed at an exact equidistant point between the ceiling and the floor, allowing it to defy gravity and float. The fall, invasion, and the Black Pagoda. The golden age of Konark was cut short. In 1568, the temple faced its most devastating blow during the invasion of Kalapahad, a general for Sultan Suleiman Khan Karani of the Bengal Sultanate. Historical records like the Madala Panji describe Kalapahad as a former Brahmin who became a fierce enemy of Hindu temples after converting. When his army entered the temple, they were stunned to see the idol floating in the air. While the temple's advanced iron lock system prevented him from completely demolishing it, he caused significant damage to the structure. However, the temple's downfall. Naval diaries record that as ships approached the coast of Konark, their navigation compasses would spin wildly and fail. The magnetic pull was so strong, it would draw the iron components of the ships toward the shore, causing them to lose direction, crash into the rocks, and sink. Desperate to protect their maritime trade and navigation systems, Portuguese sailors eventually took a drastic step. According to historical accounts, they raided the temple and forcibly removed the massive magnet from the spire. When you hear what happened next and why the British eventually buried the temple in sand, you will truly understand the tragedy of this lost marvel. believed that removing the magnet would finally make the seas safe for their ships. They loaded the massive stone onto a vessel, intending to take it back to their country. But this single act changed the fate of Konark forever. As soon as the central magnetic stone was removed, the equilibrium of the entire temple was shattered. The iron lock system that held the massive stones together lost its tension, and the grand structure began to lose its stability and crumble. Fearing for the temple's sanctity amidst the structural collapse and the threat of invaders, the priests took a daring step. They removed the main idol of the sun god and hid it under the sand for many years. Once the deity was gone, the stream of devotees stopped, and without maintenance, the temple slowly turned into a desolate ruin reclaimed by the jungle. Eventually, for safety, the divine idol was moved to Puri and installed in the Indra temple within the Jagannath temple complex. To this day, historians debate whether the sun idol currently housed in the National Museum in New Delhi is the original main deity of Konark. By the end of the 18th century, this magnificent sanctuary had turned into a dense forest, so foreboding that people feared to enter even in broad daylight. It seemed to be the end of the road for this glorious monument. But then, the British arrived and rediscovered the ruins, the 123-year silence. Why was it buried? After lying forgotten for centuries, Scottish historian James Fergusson visited in 1837, bringing the forgotten miracle back to the world's map through his detailed sketches. Then came the year 1903, the year that pushed Konark into darkness for over a century. J. Bordy, the then lieutenant governor of Bengal, inspected the temple with a special team. Witnessing the dilapidated state and falling stones, he made a shocking decision that haunts historians to this day. He ordered the 4 entrances of the Jagamohana, the assembly hall, to be sealed with stone walls, and the entire interior cavity to be filled with millions of tons of sand. While the official reason was to provide structural support to prevent a total collapse, it felt like burying a living historical masterpiece. The question remains, was this decision purely for preservation? Or did the governor see something within that darkness that terrified him? Since 1903, no human scientist or historian has crossed that threshold. For 123 years, the temple's secrets have remained buried under layers of sand, making it one of India's most mysterious sealed monuments. The present day, unlocking the secrets. In 2022, the Government of India and the Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, took a historic step. They launched a project to remove the sand and reopen the sealed doors of the sanctum. The goal is to inspect the internal structure and finally unveil the mysteries buried for over a century. This is an immense challenge. Removing the sand could shift the temple's balance, which remains a subject of intense research. As of December 2025, the ASI has begun the most sensitive phase, core drilling. According to reports by the Hindustan Times, superintending archaeologist D.B. Gadanayak stated that the drilling aims to understand the strength and thickness of the walls to determine the next steps for structural reinforcement. The Telegraph reports that the ASI is working with IIT Madras on a detailed structural assessment to ensure the sand evacuation is scientifically safe. Interestingly, the Times of India reported that recent drilling indicates the sand, which was once thought to fill the hall to the ceiling,